Hey everyone, welcome to the Grinding Station. Here we will be discussing our tournament grinds, our experiences within the format, and all things CDH. We're your hosts. I'm C9 River,
I'm Morgan.
and today we'll be talking about the commanders we play in CEDH, their strengths and weaknesses, and some of our favorite play styles within the format. So to start off, we did have a tournament we went to over this last weekend.
Yep.
Um, in Lafayette, Indiana. Morgan, you want to talk about your experiences?
Yeah, it was a good time. It was smaller. We only had about 19 people show up, so it was a little bit less than what we're used to going to. At least what I'm used to going to. We had for my personal play group, we had about 6 guys there, so we were a lot of the field. Um, and then a lot of the players from Terre Haute and Lafayette were there. A lot of the faces we see quite frequently. It was a fun event. There was a few issues that came up, mainly with there being a 3-man pod, which I didn't like, but that's fine. It will live.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the 3-man pods. I really wish shops would just do buys. I feel like there are some really unfortunate advantages some decks will have other over others because of this. Like control becomes significantly better in a 3-man pod because I only have 2 players to worry about, and trading my resources is much easier in versus 2 people versus 3. But yeah,
Right. I don't know. I was in two 3-man pods over the course of the day.
I got to spectate one of them.
It was rough. The last one that you got to watch was very rough. The first one is my only win of the day. And I made top four. So yeah, I was like, damn, I maybe shouldn't be in this top four right now, but we're here, we're living. I made top four. Ow.
Yeah. Plus,
Um,
our friend Matt won, which was awesome to
yeah,
see. Like you, Matt, my friend Ben, and
T
T Dog.
Dog. Yeah.
Or yeah, I call him T Dog. I don't know why I keep doing that. Yeah, his new name's T Dog. If you're listening, Tima. But yeah, he watching all you guys play in the finals was wild. I
That
actually had a
finals
good
match
time.
was the best game of the day.
That game's probably one of the best games of CDH I've seen in a while because being able to watch 4 responsible players play in a pod together is like my favorite thing.
I don't know if you
I
can call how I played that game responsible.
Hey, when you're paying fucking 10 mana for Crom, it's respect,
Bro, I don't know. I went all in on that turn one Crom and I got forcible. And that was just so sad.
dog.
I literally it was like land soul ring discard my hand was my turn one, huh? And then I top decked the land. I was like, okay, we're floating. We got this.
I
I
mean,
top decked the second land to play Timna, and then we were vibing. I got to play the best commander of the format.
yeah. All in all, no, it was actually really fun to watch. Like Matt had to work really hard for that. So
After the game, when you told us, you're like, you should have just let his Talion trigger and kill him on the Thoracle attempt. And all of us saw it, and we're like, oh my god.
people. So this is actually something I've been talking to a lot of players about. So like I haven't in a little bit, but I'll coach players from time to time, and that's one of the big things I tell people about. Like try to keep Esper Sentinel on the field with your opponents. It's a force you draw. You remind them of their trigger, they draw, they lose, and it's it's one of the best feelings to kill somebody off of a force draw trigger because most of the time, yeah, you can miss, like you can miss force forced abilities in the game. Like if you can miss mandatory triggers, especially in comp REL, but if you can avoid doing that, spitefully missing someone's trigger to kill them, do it. Like absolutely. Like with Talion, it's the easiest thing to do because with that deck specifically, if you do the Tainted Pact thing, you really have to judge, like, oh no, do I want to go down to 1 card in my library and have someone draw me 2 cards, or do I go down 3 cards in my library and my Thoracle bounce? Now I only have 1 blue mana, or like 1 blue converted mana cost on the field, and then I have
Right.
like 3 cards in my library and I don't win. Like, it's a struggle.
That last turn, I was like, if Matt didn't win, I was gonna go for another Thoracle attempt on my turn. I attempted to win like 3 turns in a row. I was like, win, nope, and then Matt's like, I'll scoop it up. I was like, okay. I made the top 4 on breakers. Right, there were 3 people with 8 points going into that last round, going into the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 8s made it. Matt and I were the 2 8s that made it. And
yeah,
it was intense. I felt like kind of an asshole when he announced the top 4 pod. I just jumped. I jumped up and I just high fived. I was like, "Let's fucking go!" I was hyped because I thought I didn't make it because of my last round. I lost horribly and it really annoyed me.
Oh, that lad. Yeah, that was a game. I mean, yeah, man.
There's nothing I could have like. I mulled down. I was like, I'm holding Thoracle Tainted in hand with 3 lands. That was my keep.
Oof.
And I top decked like a Dark Rit, and then Slicer does turn 1 Slicer, and then swings at me, and I'm like, okay. So I had to Dark Rit out Timno on my turn 2, so I don't die.
Yeah,
and
plus the GTA that came down.
The GTA closed the game out for me.
Yeah.
That card is busted in that deck.
I mean, yeah, that game was a game. That's another one of those, like, man, Slicer's really good when you only have 2 opponents.
You only have 24 damage to deal.
Yeah, it becomes
That's
much
right.
better.
It's okay. I was so angry for like the first 5 minutes after I died. I was like, I don't care anymore. I shouldn't care that much. It was a 3-man pod.
You still made top 4 though, so
that's the big dub. I don't know if you want to talk about how your event went. But
yeah, a little bit. So I took Teferi, like I do. My first round. So for some backup for this, I'm gonna be a little vague on purpose. So at the last Tennessee tournament we went to, I took Teferi, had all the cards in my deck. They made in the last episode, I talked about how they made me put tokens in the back of them. Well, some of the tokens were sticker sheets, and you could see through my white sleeves. So for this tournament, I decided I'd just re-sleeve my deck. So I did, and I had friends help me. I could have swore, maybe I'm wrong, that I double-checked, triple-checked even, that I had all of the cards for my deck. Had the remaining amount of sleeves left that you normally would in a Dragon Shield box. Took my deck over, did my first round. My first round was a bit frustrating. One of my opponents tried to do an infinite thing that I needed to stop, but somebody prior the turn after him was going to be presenting a win anyways, and I tried to explain that. Didn't listen to me. It's whatever, it happens. I probably should have just let him make infinite goblins and stopped the player I knew who was going to win and hope I drew into something to take care of. I was also the only player answering the board, which was really frustrating. But it happens. Something happened in that game I'm not going to talk about. And then going into my next round, I'm a little heated because of how my first round ended. Go into the next round. It's like turn 4. You know, I cast a fairy, untap stuff, float 2 mana. Use my 2 mana, pay for, sacrifice my Mopal, cast a reshape, which is going to grab the Chainveil, put on the field. I had 6 mana left open. I'm going to pay that 6 mana, do the Chainveil combo loop. My opponent said they didn't have anything. They were fine to scoop there. They hadn't picked up their cards yet, which was fair. Well, I do not blame them for that. I'm totally cool with that. I go to look through my library for the Chainveil, and it conveniently is not in my deck, along with one other card. I'm missing 2 cards, one of them conveniently being my main win condition. I dropped. Technically, it would have been a game loss anyways, and I didn't have a legal deck to play. I think if I had asked, they would have let me just go buy the 2 cards, sleeve them up, but I still would have gotten a game loss for that game regardless. And since I would have been 0-2 and it was a 3-round tournament, there isn't a chance I make top 4 at that rate. So already being frustrated, I dropped. But yeah, having a presented win so early and with protection too, I don't remember what counter. I had a counterspell in hand, and like I was fine. I was winning the game, and my opponents, who are 2 of my friends, even said that like, yeah, he had the cards. We've played against this deck a bunch of times. Like he plays the Chain Veil. This isn't like him trying to cheat. Doesn't matter. The rules are rules. I'm not too upset about it. I was at the time, but that's kind of how my tournament went. And I don't know if I would have made top 4 because I think I would have had to have won or drawn in my next game.
Yeah, you would have had to win or draw your next game.
Yeah,
which I think you were gonna get because he kept you in on accident. I think you're gonna get paired with a fairly rough pod for your deck.
Oh no, he kept me in on a loss.
Oh, okay.
The pod I would have been in was the blue farm deck individual, and yes, wait, no, hold on, I can't remember, but whatever it was, I think the decks would have been. I would have taken Ben's spot in the next line of games. So that pod I would have been in.
Okay.
Unfortunate, it worked out that way. It happens. Like I said, I'm gonna be big about it. It's fine. Looking back, it's a smaller tournament. I can't be too upset. I should have paid more attention to my deck during the tournament, and I need to keep my deck in sight of me at all times. What I normally do is I have it off to the side, the furthest side for my opponents, so that it's not blocking field of view on my board. I think what I'm going to start doing is having it closer to the middle of the table so everyone can keep an eye on it. And I might be calling judges to come watch my tables cut my deck. But other than that, all in all, it was actually really fun. I think that there's some stuff that still needs to be tweaked in some of these Midwest tournaments, I think. The way turns work was confusing. The way the point system worked was kind of confusing for most players because we're used to we were on Eminence, but we weren't used to the system that the shop was trying. I don't know. All in all, it was a good tournament, good environment. I had a lot of fun, genuinely. Getting to watch, 4 of my friends be in the finals was cool. And watching that game was so fun. But God, if I was in there, I would mop all of you guys.
Sorry, I'm not to interrupt you. I really like the way the judge handled the top 4 pod.
Yes, 100%.
Because we had an issue at one tournament, and it's very unfortunate. There wasn't a judge present, and then there was some talking outside the game, and it ended up messing with a player's win attempt in that tournament, and he would have won. And the judge at the beginning of the top 4 pod was like, "There's absolutely zero talking outside the top 4 pod. There's no interaction. There will be no interference with the game." And he stood there the entire time to make sure.
Yeah, I really liked that. I do think that these tournaments need to do it the same way Tennessee did it, where they straight up tell you there is no standing over talking to your friends, there is no spectating too long on games. If somebody doesn't want you to watch them, you don't watch them, type of thing. I think that should actually be implemented more, and that it should be more strict. There was one game that really made me mad, where 2 of the players basically weren't paying attention and kept missing their triggers because people kept talking to them, and I tried to intervene and be like, hey, can we let this player play their turn out? Let's like not pointing out that they missed triggers or anything like that. Just a general like, hey, like can we not like distract these players, like let them play the game. Didn't matter. They still kept kind of jacking around. I get it's like to most people this is like nothing. They're just doing this casually for fun. But I think for people that like do care, it can be frustrating when like in that game specifically, one of the players would have died. They kept saying that they were close to winning, close to winning. And after the game, I had to explain to that player that no, you weren't. That if like 3 different triggers hadn't been missed in that game, you 100% would have died because there was a bowmaster, additional draw effects, stuff like that.
Right.
And that game would not have ended in a draw, which is the fair thing. My friend Tyler would have won. So it's very frustrating when like, you know, a judge isn't like, no offense to the judge, I think it was their first time judging, if I remember. I could be wrong. No like slander on them or anything. I do think that a judge needs to be walking around more often and paying more attention to what's going on. That's the one thing I loved about Tennessee. Tennessee changed my mind on how CDH events should run because they did such an incredible job, dude. Like that Tennessee tournament was mind blowing.
That's how I feel about the cookout.
Really?
Yeah. So okay, I've had level up moments every time I've gone and done something, right? Like when I first started playing online, it was a big level up moment for me. I was really nervous the first couple of times. I was like, oh, it's just playing Magic, I don't care. And then I started playing at like the smaller locals, like the Lafayette tournaments, the Terre Haute tournaments. I was like, oh no. I was really nervous when I started going. I was like, oh, it's just playing Magic, I don't care. And then that's how I felt about the cookout the same way. I was really nervous going in. I was like, oh, it's just playing Magic, I don't care. So like now when I go to these smaller locals, I'm like, it's just playing Magic. I'm just going and hanging out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, these games are honestly like still fun to participate in and stuff. I know I made rash statements about never going back because I was mad. I'm going to attend these tournaments. That was just a thing
rough
that happened.
day. The dinner after was fun, but
oh, 100%. I mean, I still had fun. The fact that one of my games should have just been a win was nice. I am slowly just fully papering out to Fairy. This should never happen again. I'm going to make sure of it. But it'll be fun. I also got some spice cooking up.
Spice?
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, not with the tournament. Or? That was pretty much it. We were pretty in depth on it. So.
All right. So now we get to talk about the super fun stuff. So
the commanders
today, the commanders we play, baby. Specifically in CDH, their strengths and weaknesses, and then our favorite playstyles within the format. These things kind of all go toe in toe, but like I think this is a good way to branch this out. So, how about you start, Morgan?
Wait, before we start, do we want to just do the commanders we play now, or commanders that we have played?
I think when I wrote this, I thought more of general, so it can be stuff we play now and stuff we have experience with. Just in all, it doesn't have to be like every commander we've ever played. Like I've played a lot of commanders, but like there are definitely things that I specialize in that you know I stick to.
Okay, so I've been playing CDH since right after the Flash ban, so I've been around for a little bit. Not as old, and I'm not like as enfranchised as some CDH players are, you know.
Yo, calm down.
But I've been around the block a time or two. I've played a few different commanders. Like I started out playing Yisan as like my first real CDH deck. I played Brave, but that wasn't a real CDH deck. I just threw some CDH combos in there. I was like, I'm doing it, guys. I wasn't. But Yisan was my first real CDH deck, I'd say, and I played that for a while. I really liked tutoring in the command zone, and even now, the fact that Yisan is a tutor in the command zone, from experience with that deck, seeing other decks that have a tutor in the command zone terrifies me because I knew what I was always cooking up with Yisung, which is one of the more limited ones. And now you have like Magda, which is like, oh, I can get any artifact or dragon if I sacrifice 5 treasures. Just say, I can go get any legendary creature if its CMC is less than my power. Ooh, that scares me a lot. I'm like, I was a force at the table if I could grab like one CMC at a time and everyone knew what I was grabbing. You know, I was like that deck still has a lot of toolbox, but yeah, I was the tutor in the command zone guy for a while. I won my scrub land with Yisan actually. Um, and I really enjoy that deck. It taught me how to play or non blue decks, which is very valuable. I like to joke that Yisan is mono green control.
I mean, yeah,
He kind of is though.
absolutely.
No, but I that was my first deck, and now if you like go through all the stuff I played, my 2 other really like big decks that I have played for a sizable amount of time have Tim the Crom. I played both Opus Thief and Blue Farm. Um, I played Opus Thief back when Opus Thief was good, and then Hull Breacher came out and killed the deck. And then after that, I stopped playing Tim the Crom for a while. Started playing Thrasius Bruce. The mid range like grindy control style was really up my alley. I still play that way to this day. Like people always joke that if you're on a table with Morgan, you better have 2 to 3 pieces of backup for your combo because he has it almost every time. Which is funny because my one game that I drew in the tournament we played in last weekend, I cast 1 counterspell the entire time. I top decked it off of the Crom Troll that turn. It was pretty funny. But yeah, that's kind of my reputation from playing that deck where I was just a hard control player. And then now I play Blue Farm. I guess it's not Blue Farm. I play Tim the Crom mid range. I don't play the Adnals to make it farm, but I'm trying some spice out in the Adnals a lot. I'm trying my rail out right now, which I really like. The 3rd human silence for my Cavernous Souls is really good, I think. But yeah, I'm a mid range player, control player, however you want to say it. The slower side of mid range, I'd say. Yeah, those are like the 4 decks that really, or it's 3.5. Tim the Crom. I have 2 Tim the Crom decks, but those are like the 3-4 decks I want to classify that really shaped my CDH journey. How about you, Ripper?
Well, I have played so many different play styles and decks. It's actually kind of gross, and I hate it. No, I think for me, the deck I'm most known for, that everyone always gets mad when I deviate from, because I am a really fucking good pilot at it, Teferi, is a deck I have played basically since the Chainveil came out. I love that deck. Like that deck is the epitome of what I like to do. Have something in the command zone where I don't need to cast it unless I'm winning the game is such a good strategy for me specifically because it opens me up to a play style that I've geared the deck towards. That not everyone has geared the deck towards. Most people are on like Turbo Teferi, which I don't like, which is control. I love being able to. Everyone always jokes like within my friend group, which is like, oh, the river special, land pass, land pass, land pass, because I'm very big on not like the way I usually describe it to players is if I have the chance to turn to a Grim Monolith or turn to hold up interaction, I'm going to turn to hold up interaction almost every time because I'm not going to advance my board state at the whim that I'm not just going to lose on turn 2. CDH is a format where people can pull wins out of anywhere, and you kind of have to be prepared for that if your deck is not faster than those decks. And the playstyle works for me. It really does. I love playing control. The other deck I play a lot is Ludovic Necro Genius. No, not the partner. That guy sucks. I play the Demir Reanimator Commander. He's I will read him for those who don't know, because he is a card I don't think many people do understand. Let me pull him up. Okay, so Ludovic Necrogenius is a blue and a black legendary creature, human wizard. He says, whenever Ludovic Necrogenius enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. That is the least relevant portion of this deck. And he has X blue, blue, black, black. Exile X creature cards from your graveyard. That is the ability, or that is the activation cost. And then the ability is transform Ludovic. X can't be 0, activate only as a sorcery. And then his transformed side is Olag Ludovic's Hubris. It is a legendary creature zombie and says, as this creature transforms into Olag Ludovic's Hubris, it becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with it, except its name is Olag Ludovic's Hubris. It's 4/4, and it's a legendary blue and black zombie in addition to its other types and other colors and types. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. So the neat thing about this deck is the ability to making 5 mana in this deck is super easy because you're Dimir, and the ability to turn Ludovic into something like a Jingataxius, into something like a Consecrated Sphinx, Void Winnower. There's a bunch of things that the deck can do. Sphinx the Second Sun, that make the deck like viable. I have top 4 at a tournament with this. It was a smaller tournament, but was still honestly super fun. But it's just your classic Reanimator shell. I usually get asked like why I don't play Razaketh or Villas, and because if I wanted to play those decks, I would play Razakats, and I don't want to. I like building crazy stuff that no one's really built before or tried, and this was like my attempt at that. I've played, man, these are 2 decks I've played for a very long time now. I don't know if there's like, the only other deck I'll play that I'll bring out as a meme is Heartless Hidetsugu. He's the 5 mana mono red guy, tap, deal damage to everybody equal to half their life total, essentially.
I have a fun story about Heartless Hidetsugu.
Oh?
My first round of the cookout, a Heartless Hidetsugu player won the round.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And then he lost every round after that. And destroyed my breaker.
Damn.
It was rough. I wouldn't have top 4 or top 16 anyways, but I'll say he destroyed my breakers just to make me feel a little better.
No, that deck is one of those. It kind of operates the same way that it works on an axis that I used to play Heartless a lot in Turbo Ad Nauseam pods, because being able to turn 1 Heartless and tap
just
it on my turn 2 was so crucial to be able to shut off Ad Nauseam with 1 tap. People can still Ad Nause at 20, but if you aren't Ad Nausing turn 2, come turn 3, you're not Ad Nausing the rest of the game. Like, you're not Ad Nausing at 10 life. That's not happening. There's just also cool ways in the deck where I can prevent damage from myself and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, those are mainly the 3 types of decks. I've played stacks, but I'm a firm believer that there aren't many good stacks pilots. And if you are a good stacks pilot, your primary game plan is convincing people to protect your stacks pieces, which people don't do, because turns out when you rule of law the table, everyone thinks they have to get rid of it because they have to cast 2 spells. but they always get rid of it without a win attempt, and then somebody else wins. So it's a frustrating play style, which is why I just no longer play it.
I'm working on an Essica stacks list that I want to start playing. Not seriously, not like super seriously, but just do big flips off the top, have some fun.
Well, I'm also working on a spicy list.
Is it Essica stacks?
No, that would be so funny though. If I were to build Essica, I would build Essica with the what was it? What's the Mayhem? Not Mayhem Devil. Sire of Insanity.
Oh, you're using Essica as a polymorph, okay?
Yeah. That's the fun one. That's the spice right there. But no.
I do run Sire of Insanity in that deck.
Do you really? I want to hear more about this actually before I give away my spice.
Yeah. So I play every like offensive, super annoying stacks piece in the game. I'm playing every rule of law, or not, I'm not every rule of law. I'm playing. I'll pull the list real quick. Actually, I have it on my mox field.
Ooh, you should link it so I can look at it too.
We'll do a little deck tech here for my Essica. It has zero playtesting right now.
Same. I'm also on 0 playtesting at the moment.
I like where the idea of the deck currently. It's very mean and rude, and I don't play stacks very often, so it'd be like a pull out every few days kind of deck, and just have fun. But yeah, it's on like 1, 2 creature rule of law effects, and then it has like 2 actual enchantment rule of law effects. It's on like every Stony Silence effect except for Karn, because I don't want to flip into Karn off of Essica. I'm playing Blightsteel Colossus.
I'm looking at some crazy stuff here. Bro,
I have this deck printed off. It lets you tune. It lets you Vampiric Tutor your upkeep on top of your prismatic bridge trigger, so you get to choose what you get.
That's actually kind of spicy.
I'm playing like I said, Sire of Insanity. I'm playing Void Winnower. The Blightsteel Colossus is the fun part.
Yeah, Blightsteel Colossus, Sphinx. I love Sphinx of the Second, by the way.
I'm playing 8-mana Ugin.
Oh my god.
Just to exile every colored permanent with cost 4 or less. And then I just have this prismatic bridge flipping dumb dudes onto the board.
Oh my god.
I don't know how
Armageddon and Ruination.
Yeah. I'm just trying to land the prismatic bridge and then just shut everyone else off. I am playing
deck sans artifacts.
Yeah. I'm playing 3 Stony Silence effects, bro. With a Woobird commander. I can't even use like cryptid stuff.
Nature's Revolt.
Yeah, I'm playing Elish Norn so I can use the lands. I'm playing Sterling Grove to give Essek a Shroud.
You know what? You play this at the next turning, I'll play my spices.
I've been wanting to play it. I want to bust it out. I want to get some playtesting with it.
I need to proxy out mine, but yeah, this is actually. Hey, you know what? I like it. I like this list.
I'm on. I like where it's at. I like I put everything has a lot of intention put into it. Like there's a reason I'm on every Stony Silence effect. Mm-hmm. All I need to do is make 5 land drops and I can land the Prismatic Bridge while everyone else is sitting there with their 2 lands. Because the format's insanely greedy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It truly is, yeah.
Like, I was thinking about not being on Rhystic Study because I'm on so many rule law effects, but I was like, nah, I can't not be on a Rhystic Study. It's a stacks piece on its own.
It can be, but man, you're in 5 color. You're running like 4 counter spells.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm on 5 counter spells.
Wait a minute. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. I see the fifth one. I didn't count mental misstep.
I'm running 2 heroic intervention effects. Everybody lives and heroic intervention. Just double up the heroic intervention is not bad.
Oh, and everybody lives is also really good against like Oracle win attempts. Yeah, exile your library. That's Oracle trigger on stack. Everybody lives.
See, I don't. Right, that it's in there not for that. It's in there for definitely for the hexproof and indestructible to my dudes.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm winning this game. There is the dream. I did put the Thoracle combo in just for the dream of sometimes you land Thoracle off of Prismatic Bridge and then you have the Tainted Pact in hand.
Oh my god.
And then you just do it.
Bro, you're going places with this list.
I
don't know if top 4, but like
you're going to the bottom. You're going to the bottom of the tournament with this list.
But I say that I'm gonna get paired against it fucking turn 1 and then
just go land root maze land
me crying
deafening silence.
Oh my gosh, I do like a lot of these cards though. Like obviously rollable space, but like Yashar, Wandering Archaic, Void Winnower, Jingataxius, Coma, Dranon.
I don't know how I feel about this gen. I might switch it out for something else.
My philosophy with this gen is that I don't know if this gen's actually good in your deck. Now that I think about it.
Yeah,
I was
right.
gonna say Jin is one of those cards that says if it makes it a turn rotation. We're talking about Jingataxius Progress Tyrant. For those of you that don't know, the OG Jingataxius.
No. This is not the OG Jingataxius.
Oh,
this is the counterspell one. Yeah.
Oh wow, I can't read. So we're talking about Progress Tyrant, the not OG one. Yeah, never mind. I don't like this one.
Well, my only thought is I'm on so many rule wall effects that they can't effectively play around it.
That's actually valid. Okay, actually, yeah, I do like this.
That was my thought with putting it in the deck. I'm not 100% sold on it, but yeah, I kind of want this deck to meme on people. I need to find a spot for Shalai, I think.
Yeah, or Sigarda.
I like Shalai better because it buffs my board.
Oh, yeah.
But, I don't know what it'll be yet. And this deck was also made with, like, the fear of Bowmasters put into it.
Yeah.
If you can tell, I'm running, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm running 7 dorks. I have, like, 8 forms of ramp in the entire deck.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm looking just to curb out with stacks pieces.
Yeah, I want to see this deck play.
You know what might be good in this deck, honestly? Spicy. Little Elevere action. In the 99.
You know what? I've seen crazier things, so
yeah,
honestly...
this has been my little pet project for the last couple weeks. I've been working on it.
I dig it. What's the 100th card?
Oh, there isn't one. Not yet.
Oh.
Like I said, I've been messing with it off and on.
I'm surprised you aren't on Lotus Petal.
See, I was, but then I realized by the time I want to be using Lotus Petal, I should have already established a Null Rod effect. Because I want a Lotus Petal on turn 4 to play Prismatic Bridge, realistically, right? Or turn 3 with a Dork.
Well, you could always turn 1, Dork, turn 1. That's 3 mana. You just need 2 more land drops.
That's true. But by the time I'm like getting to 5 mana, I want to have shut off my opponent's sources of mana. Because under Stony Silences and stuff, people don't play responsibly.
Oh, absolutely not, yeah.
They love to just tap out and keep advancing their artifact ramp for some reason.
In hopes that they get rid of the
effect, right?
Yeah.
So, like, they're going to tap out and let me play Prismatic Bridge, because, like, what am I doing over here? I'm playing this fucking goofy 5-mana enchantment. And then I just start flipping, like, Comas, Jingataxis, off the top. Sometimes I'll hit another dork and ramp a little bit. I'm like, yeah, baby. But yeah, I really want to land a Blightsteel on someone and just start swinging it.
Damn,
That's my
dude.
that's like my um my biggest goal with this deck is to land a Blightsteel the first time I play it in paper. Um, I really want to play this deck at a tournament, but unfortunately, there is like no more like smaller Midwest tournaments around. Or there are some, but I have a lot of schedule conflicts with them right now because of the holidays.
Yeah.
So I won't get to play it in a tournament for a while, but I want to be workshopping it and just testing it behind the scenes and just getting it ready so it can come out to the first like Lafayette or Terre Haute tournament and just like meme on people.
Yeah, I know Terre Haute won't have another tournament until after this year, which is kind of sad,
Yeah,
but I get it. Like
I figure that's
holidays
the
and
same with
stuff.
Lafayette too.
Yeah, most likely. Um, but yeah, I think I might be able to get people to come up to a Terre Haute event. Um, One of the individuals we met from Tennessee, who's in Georgia,
Yeah,
um, he was telling me that he wouldn't mind coming up this way and trying out the scene sometime because I told him that I think we have some good players, but we also like have a mixture of like newer players and stuff. But like overall, I do kind of like the
we
main
had a
players we
good mix.
have. Yeah, I think like our core players are all really good, and I need to prove that. So
I don't know. Yeah, but like this list has a lot of thought behind it. I built it with some intention. I do think the Ruination might be a Ravages of War, but that's about it. That's the only change I'd really make right now.
yeah, that's fair.
I'm playing like Plaza of Heroes. You see that?
I did see that. You know what else would be based in this deck, even
Hmm.
though it shuts your deck off completely? Back to basics. Could you imagine?
Holy. No, this is a meme. What spice have you been working on?
Okay, so this is what I've been working on. I uh I love Demir. Demir is my favorite color combination, and I've been wanting to
Ooh.
build. So I think there's a card in CEDH that does not see any play that I think should see play, and I think Morgan knows where I'm going with this. Um,
You're
I
right.
think
It's
sort of
Orchestral Masters.
true, 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 true. No, I genuinely believe that Sword of Fire and Ice is actually a
No.
really good card right now. And I built a deck to put it to the test. And the decks I think that Sword of Fire and Ice are best in are Malcolm X decks, or Talion, or Crom decks, or even like Timna-esque decks. So like Malcolm Timna, Malcolm Tavesh, Timna Crom, Talion. I think these are the decks that Sword of Fire and Ice should see play in because it's an extra card draw each turn, but 2 damage is so good. So the way I built this deck was how many low cost card advantage engines can I run? So I count Sword of Fire and Ice as a low cost advantage engine because it's only 3 to cast, and then the 2 to equip on the following turn if my mana curve follows. And the way Malcolm works, I shouldn't be utilizing too much mana to equip it. So 2 mana should be nothing for the deck, being able to hit, deal the damage, draw the card.
Mhm.
So this deck has as many ways to abuse Malcolm, since people don't run a whole lot of spot removal, as possible. So it is just a Demir control shell. And the other cool thing with this list is I get to utilize Hullbreaker Horror in a way that I think Tevish decks aren't using it, where with infinite mana established, I can infinitely play Tevish Zat, creating an infinite board, and then sacking my infinite board to draw my whole deck. Which then should obviously just, if I've established this loop, I'm winning the game. And then I play some cool things like Phyrexian Metamorph, Clever Impersonator. These are here to copy either like Phyrexian Metamorph is here mostly to copy One Rings, or Mana Rocks, or good creatures, whatever it may be. Clever Impersonator is the same, except I think people are sleeping on Clever Impersonator right now. The ability to copy somebody's Rhystic Study for 4 mana is huge. or being able to copy like a good commander. Like let's say somebody has a Timna, and I clever impersonator Timna. Well, now I'm just playing Malcolm Timna. I'm getting so much value.
You're actually playing Malcolm Timna Tepish Zot.
Yeah, which is even better. Yeah, the deck's like, again, typical control shell. There's some cards in here that I'm going to test. I don't know if I'm going to keep. I don't know if the deck needs Meme Betrayal. I don't know if the deck needs a Mystical Tutor. But the spicier stuff I'm on are obviously, I am on Necromancy. That's more of a reactive spell more than a reanimation spell because I don't run Entomb. The concept is if somebody is trying to go off through their graveyard, like let's say someone tries to in Corvold bring back a Dockside or do Technomancer loops, I can take that away from them. And then I'm running Curiosity, Mystic Remora, Ophidian Eye, Rhystic Study, Sword of Fire and Ice, the One Ring, and Talion. These are this is and then like obviously Tepish Zot. So like it's a very big suite of counter spells, removal. I'm only running 2 board wipes currently. I might up that, might remove Meme Betrayal for another board wipe.
I really like Meme Betrayal though.
It's good, but
it does rot sometimes. But man, 3-mana sorcery that says I win the game if it resolves, good.
I think for me, the games I've seen Meme Betrayal cast, I think I'm rarely ever seeing people legitimately win with it.
You did see me fail my Meme Betrayal over the weekend.
Yes, I did.
It was rough.
But I think that's because so many people are slowly coming off of wheels now. I think people have learned that the best wheel in the format is and always will be Time Twister. Just because resetting people's graveyards is so big.
I actually disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah. Like I play Blue Farm, right? I don't want to Twister my own graveyard away. But I do want to play Wheel. Wheel is strong. It's very powerful because... Okay, so context. I play One Piece as well, right? That's my other game I play.
Yeah.
There is no hand limit in that game. So people will sack like 15 cards in their hand throughout the course of a game. And then you just can't win the game because they have so many counters and stuff in their hand that there's no way you're attacking over it. So there is starting to be an archetype in Blue that says, oh yeah, by the way, reset the hand sizes. Like you and your opponent discard down to 5 cards in hand. And I've seen the equalizing effect of that, and I've been like, oh, that's so powerful. And I think some of this that's similar in CDH, right? Where it's like if my wheel resolves, the game is equal again. And sometimes it's detrimental to be equal. Like you don't want to be equal when you're ahead. But it's a very good equalizer when you're behind. And sometimes you can use it to destabilize your opponents, right? It's a very powerful, like, oh, I'm going to send all your stuff to the graveyard, make you draw a new hand, and just, like, have better wheels than you. Because my deck has really good wheels. Because it's meant to play off from almost any point.
Yeah, wheels are kind of rough for me because I think, like, Windfall is bad. Windfall to me feels like a dark deal, which when we're in a format where people play greedy, most Windfalls this is why I've taken Windfall out of Teferi. When I played Windfall, a lot of times I'm resetting my opponent's hands, and then Windfall's just there. Like, I don't want to be resetting my opponent's hands. If everyone's on 3 cards, and I'm on 5 cards, I don't want to give them 3 more cards. Or 2 more cards. With Time Twister, for me, because I'm usually in decks that aren't like hard abusing my graveyard, except for Ludovic, but that's different. Time Twister feels good because, again, resetting graves I think is a really good proactive thing to be doing, so that people aren't accruing advantage through their graveyard for their breach. If you're on breach, yeah, Time Twister is definitely a feels bad. I think holistically the reason I like Time Twister over Wheel of Fortune is because, again, people are so keen on dumping their hands that if you're ever in a position where your opponent, because you hear it all the time, right? Every time you mention a wheel, everybody is always like, "Oh hell yeah, like wheel me, like I dare you, like I want you to wheel me because like my hand sucks," or especially like if your opponents go down in hand size through their mulligans. I think where wheels for me feel the best, and again, this is just like personal anecdotal experience, so take with it a grain of salt, but um, where I think wheels are best are in the first two turns of the game, where people are keeping their hands for a reason. And if you're resetting that, especially with Wheel of Fortune, where you're forcing them to dump whatever good things they have in hand into grave, can be absolutely backbreaking. Like if you're going Mana Crypt Land, Soul Ring, Wheel, it's like, oh shit, like I can't play the game now. And they're so far ahead that if I don't draw into a good suite of cards, like I can't keep up. They've now outpaced me.
I top 16 the bonfire off the back of a turn one wheel on the play.
Yeah.
And
yeah, turn one wheel is
I
really
turn
good.
one wheel going first, right? Two players just didn't draw lands.
Yeah. Yeah, that has happened to me.
And then me and a Thrasios to Vesh player drew lands, and then I just sat there and like curved out with Timnet and Crom, played Bowmasters, played like Oppo, and I just broke everyone's day. Like everyone was just so sad, and I was just like draw cards, draw cards, draw cards. Oh, by the way, guys, Breach, Thoracle, win. It was so funny. That was the game that got me the top 16 for that tournament.
Yeah, circling back, I think I like meme betrayal if you are abusing your opponent's graveyard. So like you're forcing them to discard their hands. A lot of times, because the way the meta has shifted, unless you have wiped the board prior to mnemonic betraying, people's best cards are usually already on the field, and it's never felt good for me. Like anytime I've played it, I've never been in a position where I'm like, oh yeah, this meme betrayal is winning me the game. But again, I could absolutely be using the card wrong, but that's just like at least what I've seen.
Meme betrayal for value is a legitimate play. I feel like it's not like Breach where it's only used to win the game. You can't just be like, that's a nice heuristic study in your graveyard. Meme betrayal, catch your heuristic study.
Yeah. Those plays scare me because of the opportunity cost to do that. So like if I'm paying 6 mana for a heuristic study and that's all I'm doing, it's usually pretty telegraphed that I don't have anything else to be doing. And if I'm tapping out, the amount of free interaction you have in a deck versus what you could possibly have in hand to value betrayal, I think if your opponents are smart, can abuse that. But that relies on your opponents being smart, and unfortunately, a lot of opponents are smart. Meme Betrayal is a great card. I will go to the grave saying Meme Betrayal is an amazing card. I think it's just only good into certain decks or when your deck is built around Meme Betrayal, and yeah, I just struggle with like hard value plays and tapping out. But again, I'm a hardcore control player, so I'm always holding up mana. Like I don't like how many games have you spectated where you're walking by and I like 6 mana untapped, 4 or 5 cards in hand. My opponents are sitting there like, yeah, it's like that's the type of Magic I like playing, and Meme Betrayal isn't that great for my play style because of that. I think if I was a more greedy player, I think Mnemonic Betrayal would be much better because I think it's great in like your deck. I think it's great in like Talion. I think it's great in decks that like lend itself to abuse your opponent's plays more. I'm just not in decks often that are abusing my opponent's plays as much as they probably could be.
Right. I am a player who will tap out for a value engine. I mean, I think we saw that last top 4 match, even in the last tournament. I was tapping out every turn I could play my commanders. I was like, you guys are controlling the board. I'm just tapping out, slamming Crom, slamming Timna, slamming Crom, slamming Timna. They just kept getting removed. So I kept slamming them. And then eventually I found myself with like 5 cards in hand. I was like, ooh, I get a chance to win.
I think with Blue Farm you can afford to do that. Because just how that deck works. I think you could do the same with like Malcolm Timna as well, or like Crom Ikra, or like I think there are plenty of decks that like lend itself to that playstyle where, especially when your advantage engine is in your command zone, it's really easy to like, here's advantage piece. It's gonna go back to the command zone anyway, so sure, waste removal. Here's an actual thing that you should have wasted removal on, like a Rhystic Study or a One Ring. And now these stick because you wasted interaction on my Crom or whatever. Like,
yeah. Or sometimes you go turn 1 Crom, get countered, turn 2 One Ring, get countered. Or, sorry, turn 2 Timna, sticks. Turn 3 One Ring, get countered. They're like, dang, I'm soaking up forces, bro. Force of will, force negation, force of die, lose the game, get out of here. That's what it feels like sometimes.
I think that game was the epitome of something, which we will talk about in another episode for sure. The epitome of what I like to call the philosophy of responsibility. I'm going to write this up at some point. Copium. No, I'm not. I'm way too lazy. Where you have players who understand they can't let incremental advantage engines go because, one, your opponents can absolutely play irresponsibly around them. This means that's going to be harder for you to win the game. Your opponent is getting like way more advantage than you. One Ring, Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, Talion, stuff like this. I believe these things should not be hitting the board with the way a lot of these mid-range decks are built now. But they are landing because people think that they can just force stuff into these cards. Like, how many cards do we see Matt draw, right, with Talion on field? Like, that was so many cards, and he drew into interaction.
But also, let's look at how many cards that Rhystic Study drew. Before Matt was on his win attempt, it didn't draw many.
Well, you guys were also... You guys played responsibly, though. That's the difference, I think. If you can play responsibly around Rhystic Study, sure, there's a good table talk discussion to have, which I think you did. It was you or Matt, I'm pretty sure, who were like, hey, we're paying for this, right? And then everyone's like, yeah, we'll pay for this.
No, I asked that, and then T-Bone immediately goes, tap out for Ken, don't pay for Rhystic Study.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the 2 cards that it drew.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was hilarious. I was like, dude, you're really going to do that right now? I was like, yeah. I was like, okay.
But yeah, like, if you play responsibly, I think the One Ring is a card you can't play responsibly around because there's no way to dodge the card draw. Talion is a card you can pseudo play responsibly around if you build your deck properly, because most of the time it's on 2. Well, if you're building like, if you're playing with Pongify and like 1 mana removal.
I am not. I play swords and that's it.
Yeah, it can be rough. So like these cards, like Talion is definitely going to draw cards. It's like, for instance, if I'm ever playing this deck, right, my Malcolm Tivish deck, which I think I'm going to start playing a lot of to test. I should Ophidian Eye, Curiosity, Rhystic Study, Talion, the One Ring. These cards should probably not be landing the field in my deck because if they do, it does not matter what people do, because this has happened with my upgrades to Ludovic, because this is basically like Ludovic without the reanimation package. It is so easy for me to draw 3 cards and see interaction, because the deck is a lot of interaction. This deck is built to do 1-for-1s super easily. But I know I'm going to play this deck, and I know I'm going to get away with a lot, because I know people are going to do the thing they do. They're going to, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to pay for Rhystic. I'm not going to pay for Rhystic. I'm not going to pay for Rhystic. And this is actually why, in Control Shells specifically, I think my spicy thing, other than Sword of Fire and Ice, which people will come to the Church of Sword of Fire and Ice. They will. People have finally come to the Church of Trickbind and Tail's End. I think Thought Vessel. I think Thought Vessel is so good right now in the format.
No, not the Church of Thought Vessel.
Dude, no max hand size in a format where people aren't removing your mana rocks is wild. Like, the amount of times I've played Thought Vessel after drawing like 3 or 4 cards off of the One Ring and then passing the turn with 8 to 9 cards in my hand. Okay. And then that's not even counting if I have a Ristic Study in play. Now, there is no me discarding down to hand size. There's just me going to my turn, untapping all of my mana, playing land, maybe playing rock, passing again, because all I need to do is make sure none of you have interaction and I win. Like, Thought Vessel's been really good for me, but I know why people don't like Thought Vessel. I've been Hearthstone color decks for Thought Vessel, because I've had too many games where Felwar's only making one of my 2 colors, or like in Teferi, where there are plenty of games where Felwar Stone's just not tapping for blue, so it might as well be a colorless mana source.
Yeah.
I will say it's not for everyone. It is a card like
That's
I'm very big.
One of those takes. One of the takes of all time.
I told you, I'm gonna give hella hot takes. But
Yeah.
I think Thought Vessel's positioned really well in this meta specifically, especially like with the One Ring. Like, I've seen people draw so many cards. Oh, actually, Thought Vessel's even great with Let me check something.
It's even great with Nas.
I know. Nas bad card.
You got a 2-mana colorless rock in your ad nauseum deck.
I'm gonna end my life in a video game.
Got him.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's really good with Necropotence.
Oh yeah, it just turns into drawing all the cards that you don't have to discard them when they don't get exiled.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Which is like valid, but I'm not big on Necro, Adnaz, Pier, those cards right now. But yeah, I think all in all, like, I don't like Thought Vessel in high color decks, but in like.
Are you saying my Najeela deck can't run Thought Vessel?
Probably could. Agatha Soul Cauldron's a hell of a drug, so if, like,
that card's powerful.
That card's so good. But yeah, that's the spice I've been cooking up. This is basically Italian list, but I wanted Malcolm instead because I like making treasures and
Holy
I
shit.
love planeswalkers. So
we've had so many tangents today.
We have.
You just had a tangent for a tangent.
I did.
Oh,
well, I tried to circle back to like the deck, but yeah.
Nah, that's okay. It's okay to have fun talking about the cool spice we're brewing up. We went the exact opposite ways with our spice. You went low color, I went high color.
Funny enough, I am just a player who does not like playing higher color decks. Because again, it doesn't lead itself to control well. I think like one of the best control shells are control decks in the format. Funny enough, it's Blue Farm.
Oh my gosh. I will die on the hill that Blue Farm is a control deck.
It is. 100% I agree. I think the people who have played Adnaz in that deck only did it because Adnaz was the best thing you could be doing, and now that it isn't, that deck opens up so many possibilities for itself and is the best farming deck in the format. And it shows itself time and time again. Like, how many times have you topped with that deck? Like,
I started playing it heavy again, 3 months ago, I want to say, and I have played in the tournament almost every weekend for that 3 months, and I've not made the top cut 3 times for that time.
Yeah. And that's just wild. That just shows how good the deck can be.
It's a very punishing deck, though.
It is.
Like, there's a learning curve with it where you're like, it's not even like a learning curve because people won't learn from it is my thing. Because the way the deck punishes you isn't necessarily like I got punished because I played bad. It's like, I think this is a bad mentality thing, honestly. where people will not consider, they won't look at the mistakes they made every game. I am notoriously hard on every game, even the games I win. I am notoriously hard on myself, so much to the point where after like casual like games with my friends, like it's always CDH, but after like we're hanging out and I make a bad misplay, I'll get really angry about it. My buddy's like, "You had no idea that was coming. There's literally no way you could play around." I was like, "I should have seen it. I should have read your mind." I'm one of those players who I beat myself up a lot, and so I think that's why I'm a good blue farm pilot. The deck, I think it rewards you for treating yourself like that sometimes, where you're like, these are all the little mistakes I made during this game. I need to fix all of these little mistakes.
Yeah, I think Blue Farm is a deck too, where I've said it before. It does two things. One, I think it punishes bad players. Because if you play improperly, the deck will just eat you alive. There aren't a lot of decks that go toe to toe with Blue Farm and come out on top just because of their deck. But it also is very rewarding for good pilots. Good pilots are the reason why Blue Farm is a good deck. Because we have seen Blue Farm in the hands of bad pilots. Those players are bad. And when bad players play Blue Farm, the deck just does nothing. And the way like you play it, and I've seen other people play it who are good pilots, you guys do something that's like wild to think about, which is just hot take: card advantage engine, control the board, and that's like
wow,
right?
that's
like,
the secret to Blue Farm.
Who would have thought? But people really struggle with that.
There's a lot of things. I think since Nas has been slowly on a decline, that deck has gotten easier to play.
Yes.
It lost its biggest pitfall with Nas. Because Blue Farm's biggest pitfall for the longest time was, I see the quick Nas, I look at my pod, I'm 4th C, but I have a turn 2 Nas, and I'm playing against 3 other blue decks, oh, jam it! And then you lose the game because you have nothing else going on.
Well, yeah, especially because that playstyle specifically, the ad nauseum playstyle, is just not hot take in our group or with other tournament grinders. Ad nauseum is just not that great right now, especially against good players. Ad Nause was a card for the longest time that just punishes bad players. I'm going to jam Ad Nause because everybody who is advancing their board states turns 1 and 2 are going to get caught off guard by it because they're not going to have free interaction. Whereas when you play against people who are like, I could play this turn 2. I'm just going to hold up mana. I have a feeling you're doing something. I counted your mana. You're on 3 right now. A Dark Ritual into something, or, a land drop into Dark Rit, get you Ad Nause, get you this. Like, people who are thinking about what their opponent's turns are going to look like into the future are why I think, like, Ad Nause strategy is just not great. And I think Blue Farm, I've been saying it for a very long time, that, like, Blue Farm only gets better without Ad Nause. I don't think the deck crumbles without it. And that's very telling. And that's what I keep seeing from people is a lot of Blue Farm pilots we're meeting at all these are saying the same thing. Yeah, I'm wanting to test without Ad Nause because I'm finding that, like, Ad Nause just isn't doing it for me anymore.
I think that Blue Farm will move 2 directions at the same time. I think there will be pilots who go harder on the Nause, and pilots who want to make Blue Farm into like a miniature Rogsai, which I don't think is where the deck wants to be. And then pilots who play it like it's a 4-color control deck with just stabilizing with a value engine and sitting there and drawing cards until they stumble to a win.
Yep.
And I think it's hard because I played Tymnocrom Opus Thief for so long, so I already had the Tymnocrom basics down, right? I've explained this to you, I know, and I've explained it to my friend group. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, if I'm on Blue Farm, I'm not tapping out for Crom turn 1. It's very rare that I do. I'll do it sometimes, right? Like we were talking about the tough 4 game. I did go all in on a Crom turn 1, but I also had nothing else going on that game. I was on a Molda 5.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to 4. It's a turn 1 Crom. If it gets forcible, it gets forcible, whatever. And it got Force of Will. I was like, okay, cool. But most of the time, Crom is like I want it to be like my third value engine that I cast. You know, I know I've explained it to you where the timing of Crom is crucial, right? Because good players will play under Crom as a rule of law.
Yeah.
Right, where they'll just like land rock pass, do maybe an instant speed tutor on someone else's turn to get their value going, and you're like, oh man, I'm not drawing anything off this Crom. It's just a 4. I played 5 mana to 4 damage every turn. This is bad. And 5 for 4. But I've started to realize that Crom's strength is like, okay, I think people are gearing up for like a really big win attempt, and this is like their turn to go. I'm gonna play Crom and pass, keep up a couple mana, because then they're gonna try to win. They're gonna protect their win attempts. I'll get at least 3 Crom draws off that, because my other 2 opponents are definitely gonna be going in on that. They're not gonna let them win. I'll secure a stack advantage, and then someone else will get greedy, and then go for a win because someone is trying to win. But I just have a bunch of cards in hand, so I can stop them, and then I can try to win because I have a bunch of cards in hand. That's how I've started to kind of try to play Crom. Just like get the god tier timing where it's like maybe the turn right before they go off or the turn before that. Just be like, yeah, I know you're setting up for a win attempt. Crom, maybe like 4 at you just to like take some life off if you're like trying to Nals or something. I don't know. But Crom is for sure like a D tier value engine if you don't play him correctly.
Yeah, I agree. I've said that for a while as well, where the thing with Blue Farm is that if your opponents can keep Tymna off board and play under Crom, it becomes like a little bit harder to play the deck. But again, the way you play the deck and the way other good pilots are playing the deck isn't like my card advantage is Tymna plus Crom. It's like, here's a Rhystic Study. Oh, you're not countering it? Cool. Here's a Tymna, here's a Crom. Now I have 3 advantage engines on board. Or here's a One Ring, here's a Rhystic Study. Here's a Mystic Remora, here's a One Ring. Like, people are getting smarter with cards in hand. People are understanding that, like, card draw is what you should be doing. And with Bowmasters in the format, like, a lot of times you don't even need Tymna because she's going to get removed anyways. Like, it's really just Crom. And Crom can be really good because, again, sure, I think, like, quote-unquote good players are going to play the rule of law game with Crom. But most players are, I don't want to say bad, but I think most players are irresponsible, where they will be like, well, I have to give Crom a draw this turn. It's the same, but those are the same players who are feeding Rhystic Study, who are feeding Mystic Remora. I think those players are out there, so like Crom is usually good in most situations, but I agree with you. Like a mid-game Crom land is like really good, especially paired with another like card advantage engine, because like, again, people aren't countering Rhystic Study. They're not countering
the thing is, right? People are like, oh, he has a Rhystic Study, or he has like a One Ring on 2 or 3. He just cast Crom. He's already getting card advantage anyway, so why wouldn't I feed the Crom? And I'm like, that's what I want you to do.
Yep.
If Crom draws 5 cards a rotation, I think he's paid for himself at that point.
Yeah, I mean, even if Crom has done 3 cards in turn 2 in 2 turn rotations, I think at that point you're still happy to see 3 extra cards. And
right,
with an additional card advantage engine like the One Ring or Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, these types of cards that people eventually like, well, he has 7 cards in hand. What's 15 more gonna hurt, right? Like
you're like, yeah. Me staring at like all lands. Yeah, what's 15 more gonna hurt?
Yeah, that's just also like a toxic mindset, I think, for most players, where I see this a lot, especially in early rounds, where people will like just feed stuff to feed it, or like not pay attention to the correct threats. But I think that's also like unfortunately going to be what happens with the format regardless. Like Blue Farm is really good because it can accrue value in so many different ways.
I think it exploits a lot of the weaknesses players have, which is agreed.
Yeah, but even like I think I'm starting to change my mind more and more. I think Blue Farm is still good against good players.
Oh
I used to
yeah,
think that it was strictly only good against bad players, and
you
I
think
do
it?
think that that's where it shines. But if you play it correctly, it can still sit at a table with three other responsible players. Because okay, you're not feeding me off of Crom. Cool, I'm okay with you playing you tapping out to play one card on your turn to not feed me two, playing your other cards that you're going to play. Like,
I I think that since I've been on Blue Farm, my win rate has skyrocketed, and I want to see if that continues or if it was just like a passing thing. Which now next year I really want to hit tournaments hard.
same.
I didn't start grinding till about halfway through the year this year. But next year I want to be like I want to go to the West Coast a little bit too and try out. If there's a bigger event over there, I want to go over there. I want to start making more trips out to the East Coast. I went to Pennsylvania for the bonfire. I want to start doing more of that. Obviously, any big Midwest tournament I want to go to. I'm gonna start saving my vacation from work. Like I'm thinking about stacking up an extra like 8 hours of vacation time from this year, moving it to next year, and then using that as well.
Yeah, I'm carrying 16 over. I'll have 96 at the start of next year. So yeah, I'm totally down to like take a day or two off for a tournament. Like, and I'm down to go on these trips too. Like, give gas money, whatever, because
Yeah,
I'll have the money to do that. But like, yeah, I genuinely think that I also want to see like I even if I'm not playing, I love going to these tournaments because I love seeing like your growth, and I love being able to be there to like you guys are all really good players. You don't need me in that aspect, like as a mind, but it's still so nice to have the discussions we have to like see how you guys react to different pods, be able to have those discussions after games or like stuff like that. I think is always super helpful.
I think that I specifically, and I know obviously we talk about how we have really good players, but that was we always talk about having really good players at these tournaments. But I really think that I have been blessed with a very high number of high quality CDH players within my own play group, just like personal play group,
Yeah.
that really challenge me every time I sit down.
Yep.
Every time I sit down, we always get mad at each other. we very rarely end a game of CDH happy, which is funny because that's how we are with each other. Like we get angry at each other. We're like, "Oh, it was actually a really good play. I loved it." Or like we after the Lafayette tournament this last weekend, we went and played War Commander at Richard's house, and we had our buddy Nate who didn't come, and I was sitting there bickering with him the entire time. After that, I was like, "Ah, that was fun." That's how we express our friendship is just by being angry at each other a lot of the time. And but no, they push me every time I sit down at a table with them. And I specifically like Matt, right? Matt who won this tournament. It was really cool for me to see him win. And he's won other tournaments, but he started playing Magic like a year ago.
Yeah.
And he started out on CDH because we were like, "Hey, do you want to play with us?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he just started playing with us, and then now he's one of my best friends. And he grinds these tournaments when he can, and he just sits around and fucking builds Sisay, works on Tally, and he's gonna build Kinnan now that he has a Trop Island.
Oh my gosh.
um,
Yo, get these Kinnan players out of my tournaments.
T-Bone, he was kind of in a higher power like group until he started playing with us, and then he's an insanely good player. Like as much as I give him like shit, right? Because I hate Kinnan. I hate sitting down against Kinnan. It's so annoying. And it has the same problem as with Noda for me, right? It's like you're like, I've just activated Kinnan once. I'm like, yeah, but that once could be like a game-winning effect.
Yeah, like
I'm
hello,
sorry.
Seedborn Muse.
I'm sorry. I can't let you do that. I can't let you get off the ground. um, but he is an insanely good Magic player. And he is also a very new CDH player that I kind of taught the basics, and then he just played against me a lot. and then his skill rose to where now I see like him, Matt, Richard. I think of us all on the same level instead of it being like a tier, like I'm a step above, and then they're like I'm helping them get up to my level, which is a very cool experience as someone who grew the CDH community within my town, right? It's very cool to now have equals instead of just people that I help along. Now we all help each other.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think I'm blessed with talented people that really push me and really make me a better player. Which it's kind of sappy, but I think that's the only reason I can actually do well at these tournaments anymore. Like playing against some of the people I play against these tournaments and starting to like get to know some of the people I see and start to remember faces, start to remember decks, remember play styles. It's like I would not have been able to play against you a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I would have gotten destroyed. But now that I've been working, my group's really been pushing me. I've been playing these locals. I've worked my way up little by little. I feel like I'm on the same level as them, and I'm still getting better.
Yeah, I think that's like a big thing too, and this is why I really like. This is why I did like playing over in Terre Haute, and why I like playing with you guys when I get the chance, mostly only in tournaments.
Okay.
But being able to see like the newer CDH players come up and play the way they play, the way they grow, is kind of rewarding as like a quote unquote CDH boomer who's washed up now. Is that like I think you guys offer like a really good perspective on the format and how like the game should be played in ways that I think is nice to sit down and be able to have like genuine discussions with you guys, because there are places I won't name r/ that kind of stifle discussion, I feel like, or there's like an elitist mindset where I get a decent amount of like people will listen to me at least, which is nice, but I think that's because they've seen my name for a long time now. And I hate that because I feel like if I was a brand new player, some of the concepts and ideas I'd have people wouldn't listen to. Like I've said it before, right? Like back in the day, I used to tell people that like Trick Bind was, one of the best cards you could be playing in CDH, and everyone told me I was an idiot. But then, here, many years later, Trick Bind is seeing hella tournament play. People are on Trick Bind because it is so good against like a lot of things that are seeing play, and it feels nice. But at the same time, I like seeing like Matt, T-Bone, Richard, like you guys be able to bring life into this format more than like some of the older players who like don't want to let go of their like notoriety, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I don't want to get to that point where I'm scared to try things and make new things happen. But also, I'm a blue farm player, so I kind of am that way already.
I don't know. I have seen you like test a lot of things, and I like that. That's the same with like everybody, right? Where I don't think there's a card because I was talking to Matt about Sword of Fire and Ice, and it's a card he genuinely thought about. Where like that makes good sense, can spot remove Kinnan, which was the big thing.
It can spot remove. I will give you it spot removes Kinnan and gives you card advantage. And if Sisei doesn't have any boosts, it kills Sisei. Maybe kills a couple of her legendaries.
Yeah.
Can deal with Malcolm's, Timna's, Nagila's. It has its use, right?
Yeah, I don't think it goes in every deck like at all, but it's definitely a card where like I can say Sword of Fire and Ice, and we can have a legitimate discussion about Sword of Fire and Ice and its uses within the format. Whereas with other communities out there, I can't, because if I say stuff like this, like I can, but in the sense of like, oh yeah, like I've lost some games to you, I totally respect your opinion, not necessarily like oh yeah, that's a cool thought experiment, kind of like experience over like thought process, which is annoying because like
I think that just leads I think that's what being in person and discussing things lends itself to, honestly. Because with like online discussion and discourse. At the end of the day, people are just gonna like shut off Discord, be like, okay, I don't care. But like when you're in person, you're seeing these people semi regularly because you're in person, right? Your ideas clash a lot more, and I think
Yeah.
that leads itself to more thinking, more discussion, more real movement, and I think that's just part of being an online, largely online community. Is sometimes it takes a while for things to change.
Yeah, and I think that as the tournament scene grows, I think we are going to see some growing pains within like play styles and ideologies format. Um, again, years ago, when I built Teferi to be a control deck, and I would counter multiple win attempts in a row, people would get mad at me because they're like, "Oh, you're just playing not to lose." Yeah, turns out that's a valid strategy. I don't like losing, so I'm gonna try not to do that. And it's just like you said, it's just kind of how like online communities grow. I think things will get better. It's just gonna be a matter of, like us getting there as a community, like
Right.
as a whole. Just gonna take some time, but that's why again I'm glad like a lot more younger players are coming into the format. A lot more newer players are doing these tournaments. You know, you guys have a lot more to offer. There have been cards that I've seen people bring up that I've never heard of before, and I've been playing this format for years. Like, and it's that's a good thing though. Like when people are pointing stuff out to me, I love that because it's like the more my knowledge grows, the better of a player I can be. I'm never going to be a good player if I think every take I have is the best. Because like when can I learn, right?
Right. That's I am trying to strive to always learn from every game I play, which it's partly because I beat myself up a lot, which I know I probably shouldn't because I know I'm a good Magic player. You don't go and top multiple tournaments even if they're locals if you're not good,
Yeah.
right? But I would like to eventually be able to be like consistent top 16s in the biggest events that like Lotus Con. I'd like to top 16 next year. I top 40 this year. I want to top 16 next year.
Oh yeah.
Events like the bonfire and the cookout. I top 16. I didn't top 16 cookout. Which I really that was such a big learning experience for me as a player. Such a big level up going to my first big tournament because I also hadn't been to like a big 60 card tournament. That was my first big tournament, and growing from that, um, that was my last tournament on not on Blue Farm. That was my last tournament on Dawnwaker.
Was it really?
Yeah. Playing Dawnwaker in that tournament made me realize it's bad. At least right now, the way the meta has shifted, the way players are playing, it's bad.
Yeah. I guess that's fair. As well, yeah. Bowmaster as well, right? Like
it's a little bit of Bowmasters. Players are insanely greedy in big events. Like I don't know if you saw it at the Final Flavor Tennessee, but players play really greedy in big tournaments. And when I see that, I'm like, Dawnwaker does not reward me for having greedy opponents. Dawnwaker punishes me for having greedy opponents because it wants some setup time. Right? Yeah. When T-Bone played the deck, he's like, if I lose a game in turns 1, 2, or 3, there's nothing I was doing there. There's no way I was winning that game anyways. And I'm like, I can't approach a game like that. And that's why I eventually got across to him. I was like, we, as players, as tournament grinders, because he also wants to be a tournament grinder. I was like, as a tournament grinder, you can't say, oh, if I lose a game before this point, it's just bad luck. There is no such thing as luck, in my opinion. Or there is, obviously, it's a card game, but our goal should be to eliminate as much luck as we can. And saying with a deck like Dawnwaker, oh, if I lose in the first 3 turns, it was just it was an unlucky pod, unlucky hand, unlucky game. That's unacceptable in my opinion. You should always be striving to play a deck that goes, I made this mistake. This is why I lost the game. Next time, if I do not make this mistake, I will make my game go longer, or I will potentially win the game. That's what you have to strive towards. I think that's why T-Bone does so good on Kinnan, because it shortens that window. He's like, if I lose on the first turn, there's nothing I was doing. That's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment, in my opinion. There's not a lot you can do against a turn one win attempt, realistically. Um, but like turn two, you should be able to like turn two maybe hold up at least a counterspell or two. You know, I think
Yeah.
that Dawnwaker in its current state, at least when I played it, I have not followed it since. I do not know where it's at right now. It could be in a completely different spot than I was playing it at. But Dawnwaker, when I was playing it, was the epitome of a Sans Black control deck. It sat there when I'm going to establish multiple value engines, value out, and the longer the game goes, the higher my chances of winning. But in CDH, people don't want the game to go long. People don't want the game to last past turn 5, turn 6. You have to accept that.
I think that's why I built Teferi the way I did. Like when I came into the format, that is something big I saw, was that people just wanted to win. They didn't care what their opponents were doing. Here's my win attempt, turn 2, turn 3, and I'm going to pray my opponents don't have it because generally they didn't. So I think that was like a big learning curve for me because I like again when I first started playing CDH, people did not like my playstyle. People thought that I was being spiteful. That used to be a big word I used to hear all the time. You're spite playing. You're countering my win attempt. What if the next player in turn order wins? And yeah, that would happen sometimes. But like the more I built my deck to do the things I wanted it to do, the more I geared Teferi towards being hard control, the less that started happening. And one of the big things I took up in playing control is politicking. And I'm really good at politicking. Where like I'm I will not sit there and say, "Hey, I can counter 3 of your things, 3 of your spells this turn. Do not set up a value engine. Do not try a win attempt. I will stop you. We will lose." And people have learned if you're at a pod with me, I'm not lying about that. I'm going to do that. And by people understanding that that's how I play, when they see me again in a tournament, they know that when I go, "Hey, this person's trying to set up a win attempt. Don't force me to counter something of yours. I will. They'll listen." And that's like that's not something you can necessarily do with like Dawnwaker, right? Where like into Fairy or Ludovic, I can do that because like those decks are just blue decks, right? Teferi's obviously a deck. Dimir control decks are primarily blue decks. Like
Right.
I'm not lying. Now, if anybody in 5 color says that to me or 4 color says that to me, the likelihood of them just having a bunch of interaction, unless they're on like blue farm, is so rare. And especially against like Dawnwaker, right? Like I've played against the deck a lot, at least in its like earlier days. I haven't followed it since like the last time I saw you play it. But like you said, your early turns are set up. Like it's so hard to like not play Dork, not play Mana Rock, not get Thrasios out, right? And then like still somehow have free counter magic or whatever because you're on 4 colors. Like the deck still leans pretty blue heavy, but like you're also green heavy. So the amount of like interactive spells you're going to have in hand versus like what you could potentially be drawing is not as high quality as a lower color control deck's going to have. That does allow itself to like in this like in Ludovic, right? I don't have to play my commander turn 2. In Teferi, I don't have to play my commander to set up. Like all I'm doing is land pass, land mana rocks, hold up like an opposition agent, hold up some counter spells, hold up some form of interaction or something that like my opponents aren't gonna realize is coming because they are playing greedy. So I totally agree with you. It's hard to play those decks like that, especially if because like those are decks. The higher colors you go, the harder it is to like force your deck to be like hard control because early setups in decks like Thrasios Advantage Accrual decks is is really hard to like. Is really hard to
Unfortunately,
do.
Thrasios, like, I guess Thrasios stocks are also way down right now, but Masters is really hurting that deck.
Yeah.
The fact that there are so many efficient value engines in the format right now is really hurting that deck. Because Thrasios on its face is a very poor value engine.
Yeah. Thrasios used to be a really good value engine when people weren't turboing out their Rhystic studies and before the One Ring was printed. But now that you have all these other advantage spells, it's so hard to like pay 2 mana to like Thrasios Passios. Like, cool. You have a 1/3? Like,
a 1/3 that lets you opt for 4, bro.
yeah, like
Powerful.
cool. If you're Thrasios Passiosing, like maybe you have Fierce Guardianship and unlikely in a 4-color deck this early in the game. Sure. Like I'll let you do that. Here's my win attempt. You don't do anything. Like if Thrasios was like a lower costed activation cost, maybe, but then she'd just be broken. But yeah, I don't. Thrasios is rough with Bowmasters, and building around
tough.
Bowmasters is so hard.
I accept that Thrasios stocks are down right now, but I think they will come back eventually.
Yeah, I think that if so, like my take has always been that like the playstyle of Razakets is actually still really strong. But I agree with you on the axis that like Thrasios kind of sucks right now, and Tymna in decks that aren't utilizing its ability is bad. However, I think if you're just playing the deck for color, um, it becomes easier to play if your mind isn't play commander, accrue advantage through commander, and instead is like I'm mulliganing for interactive or not for card advantage engine like One Ring or early Rhystic studies and stuff. I think the deck's still pretty good there.
But
And
then why
like
not play blue farm?
I think because you have an outlet in the command zone.
I hate to be that guy, right? I hate to be the why not play blue farm guy. But like if you're wanting to play a deck that's like mulligan's early value engine, profit. I'm like, but blue farm does that better. And sure, you're like, cool. I want to play infinite mana combos. Okay.
I don't even mean infinite mana combos. I think one of the best things you can do right now is Hullbreaker Horror. And
that's an infinite mana combo.
Well, yes, but Hullbreaker Horror also does something that does something for Razakats that Blue Farm that it doesn't do for Blue Farm, which is why like you don't run Hullbreaker Horror, right?
Right.
Is I have a mana outlet in the command zone, and Hullbreaker Horror bounces Bowmaster. So like there's such a big thing that like being able to get to and play the card, I think is pretty valid for that deck. But that's all again, like you're not building the deck to play Tymna. You're not building the deck to play Thrasios. And that is a very hard, I think, concept to get players to understand. Because like why am I playing these commanders if I'm not using them? But like as somebody who plays a commander I don't use until I'm winning, it's like an easier concept for like me to grasp where like I'm never valuing Teferi. I'm not paying 6 mana for like an impulse. That's really bad. That's awful rates. But I'll play 6 mana to generate an additional 4 mana to play 2 to 3 extra spells on my turn to get a Rhystic Study and a One Ring on the field, and then pass the turn as my opponents like now have the really awkward decision of like, well, attacking his life total doesn't matter. We can kill Teferi. He has the mana to recast it. And like how exactly do we want to do this? Like now we have to plan for whatever. But like, yeah, I'm so used to I think those styles of decks where like I used to play Extus Turbo Nas, where again your commander's just an outlet. There is a combo with Extus that I played with Dockside to generate infinite mana, but it's again it's another deck that's like I'm just gonna generate infinite mana. Here's the source I'm gonna keep using from my command zone. But yeah, it does feel bad. Like just not playing your commanders, like, because you're essentially playing like 98 cards if you're
Right.
not playing your commanders, and both of those commanders are just really bad with bowmasters right now together. Like both those commanders with each other are bad right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we've been talking for a long time.
How long have we been going?
An hour and 40 minutes.
Holy shit.
I think with that really long tangent about Dawnwaker, I think that's kind of where we should end it. We talked
Yeah.
about the decks that we play, why we like them,
Their weaknesses.
yeah, their weaknesses, the play styles we enjoy. I think we really hit everything we wanted to hit this episode. Actually, I think all the tangents helped.
Yeah, like funny enough, I think the tangents really did help us kind of tie this all together. But
Yeah, but I think that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week with another topic that lets us spew out hot takes like they're like it's confetti.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think there is another Bedford tourney the second. I don't know if you're going to that.
The second I have Friendsgiving with all the boys,
Ooh.
so none of us will be going.
That's really bad for them.
Yeah, like all
we
of
bring
my
a lot of
plans.
players.
Yeah, we all have like I have like this weekend is Jim Bob's birthday, so we're all hanging out with him. The next weekend I'm having Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving. Then the weekend after
Yep.
that it's Thanksgiving. Then the weekend after that's my brother's birthday. The weekend after that it's getting ready for Christmas time, so no one's gonna be having a tournament. And then it's Christmas time. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be rough.
Darn.
It's gonna be rough going to the end of the year. But,
Well, I mean, we'll be back at the beginning of next year anyway. So once
yeah,
tournaments
I'm
start firing
excited
back
for
up.
that.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to show you why Sword of Fire and Ice is the best card in the format right now.
I'm gonna workshop Essica, and then just go in and get my shit stomped. That's gonna be my next project.
Same. I can't wait to play this Demir
I'm
deck.
trying to help Jim Bob with his Amanatu and Derevi lists. Get those up a little bit up to par nowadays.
I have not seen Derevi in a long time, but that deck is super fun. So
We're working on some spice, some Eldrazi Displacer lines.
oh,
With lands that tap for colorless mana, like multiple colorless mana.
well, I might have some ideas. So if you guys ever want to workshop,
He is always looking to workshop, but unfortunately, I have a hard time building with other people. Building is a solitary thing for me. So I like to build on my own and then compare with other people's lists. It's my biggest thing.
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're about wrapped up. Anything you want to leave the audience with?
No, I mean, honestly, let us know your guys' favorite decks and playstyles and why you like them. Currently, nobody has been able to listen to episode 1, but by the time this is up, they will be able to. Our episodes are probably going to be long because I assume we are going to have tangents like this, which is fine.
I like that. That's the kind of podcast I like to listen to. So.
Oh yeah, let us know what you guys want us to talk about as well. We have a pretty big list so far of topics we're going to discuss, but we want to hear from you guys about things you want to hear us talk about, or even if you disagree with us, let us know. I'm even down to have an episode where we go over comments of people who disagree with us and why they're wrong and we're right. But yeah, thanks for coming out, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.